amazing episode. And today's episode, I call it self talk. A lot of my progress and the things that people see in the light, is a lot of work that I do behind the scenes, a lot of self work, shadow work, whatever you want to call it, but there's a lot of personal development that goes on in the dark. And one of the main things that's always been helpful to me and I'm grateful for is that I've had this voice in my mind that has always been a supporting voice. If I make a mistake, that's okay. How can we fix it? How can we adjust it? If I don't accomplish something, it's okay. How can I do better? And that voice wasn't always that way. There was a time in my life that voice was, what the fuck is wrong with you? Oh, why are you doing this? This is wrong. Like I was very judgmental against myself, towards myself. And it really is not a helpful way to be because I was finding myself trying to drown that voice. Now I'm more connected to that voice. I had to spend time with that voice and just, like understanding that I'm in control of that voice. It's not something that I'm not in control of because it's tricky. It's like your mind is attracting thoughts and your mind is also like analyzing things. But your mind is not, how can I say this? Your mind is not like this is good, this is bad. Your mind is just a program. It just continues to go. And for a long time, I had that program that wasn't working in my favor. It was like a voice that wasn't helping me in any way. And I will always not feel okay. I would always feel like things were wrong and I was doing things wrong and things were going one way. And it took some time for me to recognize and, reading and meditation and understanding myself. And then I used to say, man, why am I I'm very hard on myself. But that voice wasn't hard on me. That voice was like, I guess it came from growing up and my mom just always, I guess that's her way of loving me and how she grew up because it has to do how she grew up. But it was like, this is wrong and you always doing things wrong and this isn't correct and you need to do this correct and that is not supposed to be that way. So now in my mind as I've grown, that voice was in my mind, like where I'm out in the world and I'm doing something and you're always doing things wrong. I always fuck myself over. And it's very important and you need to watch what you say, joking around, what you say, playing around, or at a low moment because your mind is not biased. Your mind is a program. So if this program says something to the self and there's an emotion tied to it, all the brain knows is that we need to repeat this program. This needs to continue. So, until you don't recognize that that's going on in your life, that things are being programmed by how you're talking to yourself, you'll never get out of whatever situation you're in because if you're constantly repeating that things aren't good or this looks bad or this isn't going correct, your brain is like, this is the situations we need to be in because there's no other way that he is telling us to behave. He's telling us to behave this way and this is how we need to behave. And a lot of the things that help me out and my growth is of self-talk, is of self-understanding. I learned to be more kind to myself. I learned to love myself. And love myself is not, let me buy myself this. That's one form of loving yourself. But the love myself is, I'm not going to put that in my body. I'm not going to be around this energy. I don't need to stick my thing in that, have more self-respect, have more self-control. I don't need to, it's just, when you start to create these boundaries, that's self-love too. And I learned to understand that because a lot of the times, I'm a big believer in the saying that who you hang around influence you because you're constantly trading thoughts, trading ideas. And if you're around people who are just in a funk and you're like, nah, but that's them, that's going to be you because unconsciously you're programming yourself based on what the other person is telling you. You're like, hey, things are going this way. And he's like, yeah, man, things are always going the same way for me. And yo, let's just go smoke and forget about this. And, sooner or later, you don't realize that you're in a cycle. You're repeating this. Every time that this comes up, you know how to fix it. Every time this comes up, you know how to fix it. So it was something that I came to understand. And now, like, my self-talk is very loving, is very understanding. Even when I do make mistakes, I'm human. I'm like, you know what? I try to figure out what created the craving or what created the trigger for me to make a decision that I didn't really have. I had the willpower, but there was more pain towards resisting it than to understanding it and not repeating it. And that is a major key in my life. It was one of the things that really elevated me mentally, and in reality, it has done a lot for me. I'm able to be more calm, more patient, more understanding, and realize that a lot of things are not in my control, and things are always flowing and going at the pace they need to go. Like it's like I trust the process because this life is an experience that not a lot of us know. We can scientifically predict all the things we want, but we're all really guessing. And this is just me explaining how I've come about certain guesses and certain ideas and certain understandings and reading and talking to certain people who are in certain levels and sort of mind states, because it's not all about money. Like it's a lot of this is gonna bring you peace. This is gonna bring you the money, but I've learned in life that like the most important thing is peace. Like you can have all the money in the world, and if you're not at peace, and when you go to bed at night, you don't rest. There is nothing that you're doing here. It's draining yourself, and sooner or later you're gonna crash. Because I've been there. I've been there where I was draining myself to the end, and the self talk was involved in the draining. It was like, you're not tired, keep going. You're not tired, keep going. And I feel like that was not peace for me. I learned to sit back now, and I do the work consistently, and I always do a little extra consistently, but I'm not in a race to with anybody else. You understand? So if I'm not in a race with anybody else, I'm always going at my own pace, and it's a beautiful place to be. It's a great mindset, and I hope that whoever's listening to this out there, this can help you and get a better understanding and jot the things down. How I started was that. Like when I would do something, there was always like this back talk. It was almost like my own mother, like this back talk, like what are you fucking, I don't repeat these things anymore because it's very important what you say and what you speak, man. The mouth has power. Your thoughts that you entertain have power. What you tell yourself has a lot of power. Your body and your brain is not biased. It only does what you tell it to do. That's why they tell you to heal things. That's why they tell you to, step out of your circle and do other things so you could be around new energy and attract new thoughts and be able to work off your intuition. And it is a very spiritual experience for me since I fixed the self-talk. And thank you for listening again to the I Will podcast. I'm your host, Santiago Brito.